where we make sense of the news so you don't have to. And Adam, I'm going to actually come out of the gates on this one with my own question.
You're going to come out of... Do we have gates in here? Did we improve when we dealt more in the budget of this show?
We did, and unfortunately, our mic has not arrived, so we've allocated more money just to gates.
Gates that you're going to come out of.
Correct.
So bigger intro, poorer audio quality.
Exactly.
I like
but
it.
all the visual effects will make up for it.
Right. Our graphics team is where our cameraman is today.
Not here. Yeah. Okay, so we're now 9 episodes into That's Healthy, right?
That's right. You're going to count every single episode.
I am.
I can't wait to have like episode 181.
Yes.
Episode 33 is going to be a big one for you.
It will be. Well, wait till we go 333.
That'll be special. Anyways.
Okay, so I know the premise of this show. We have experienced a lot of frustrations from a lot of your followers, clients, all the above, and we wanted to make sense of the news. But each week as I go in and I try to find newsworthy topics for us to discuss, which is not very hard, it really kind of dawned on me this week though, is it boggles my mind how such big players in the publication world from every avenue, when we find topics to talk about, I'm not going to some random blog post. I'm literally going to some of the biggest outlets possible.
Right.
And my question to you, since you have such extensive background in the writing world, publication world, all of that, is how can these media outlets really publish such controversial articles? And I say controversial in the fact that there's zero science behind it, and from week to week on the same website, they have contradictory information. So what is it, or is it a matter of just getting those viewership and getting the view counts up that plays into it? But how is that possible when you would think the reputation's on the line?
I think a few things happen here, because obviously I've seen it firsthand working with media publications. I see it secondhand working with them through a consulting business, and I see it thirdhand as I'm reading. And when it comes down to it, I wouldn't say that there's always no science. Sometimes there is. I think it's more of a twisted reality of that science. So I would say if we were to put it in buckets of the problems, one of it sounds mean, but it's just laziness. Someone will read a headline. It's a game of telephone. The problem's usually, and it's not always because there's some bad research out there, but the problem usually isn't with the research, is with the people that are reading the research, interpreting it a certain way, and then like one person interprets it and another person interprets it, and then it might get to a media source where they should go back to the initial study, read what was done, what the goal was, kind of the independent and dependent variables of the study, and then actually look at the statistics to see what did they really find. And usually what happens in this game of telephone is someone will see a study that has been bastardized, completely manipulated, and what they will write about is based on what another media outlet has covered, rather than what the initial study was. So some of it is laziness, and some of it is just people not being fluent in research. So they might see a study, they might read an abstract, so a headline and a short summary of it, and make assumptions about what was found rather than actually digging in or actually calling up a research. I've never published an article in a mainstream magazine publication without contacting the researcher and asking them about the results. Doing otherwise would mean that I'm opening myself to be vulnerable to misinterpret the data, which is really difficult. Science is confusing. Part of what I think made me effective back in the day was that I was a researcher. I did help publish studies from a scientific standpoint. So my job is to translate that information and either not jump to conclusions or not cover it all. Sometimes the research that we have is interesting, but it's such a small piece. I think that's really the bigger part of the picture. When it comes to all of this stuff, we don't always need to react to the research we get. Right. Sometimes it's like this study will lead to this study, which is this study, and we're like 5 studies away before we can have a concrete answer. But in this publish or perish universe, we're always trying to crank out content. We want page views, we want people to react. We take that short-sighted approach, which leaves us where we are. People are very frustrated because, like you said, they'll read one article on one site, and a week later they'll read another article, and they're completely contradictory, and it's difficult to navigate.
So it seems like it's an issue kind of between deadlines and the need to push something out, which what I would imagine make it hard to really reach out to the researchers, as well as creating that controversial headline that will
get a reaction.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think it's done on purpose, but I think there has to be a greater sense of responsibility, social responsibility, that a lot of people, aren't fluid in this. You tell them, like, don't eat carbohydrates, and a lot of them be like, what the hell is a carbohydrate? They know like bread is a carbohydrate, but they don't know that fruit or vegetables are carbohydrates, or that nuts and seeds have carbohydrates in them. So I think the problem here is that the editors, the writers, they're trying to do their job, but not realizing some people will read this stuff at face value, not have enough background to prevent them from making bad decisions. And that's the danger. A lot of people aren't going to go and read a bunch of journals or contact their doctor. They're going to read one article, read that headline, and take an action. And I think it's why, at Born Fitness, we try and be a little bit more patient. Our job isn't to publish a lot of stuff, it's to provide clarity. It's the reason why we do this show.
Right.
Is that we know that there's so much misinformation out there, and that rather than coming from the perspective of saying or writing something that will get a response, come from the perspective of where are people getting confused?
Right.
What don't they know? And it's what we do with our coaching clients, it's what we discuss all the time. Where is that breakdown? Because there's only so much that changes in science or in human anatomy. What is always changing is what are the problems that people are facing, or where in that breakdown of communication are people becoming confused that they then go down a path that just creates complete chaos and frustration.
All right, well now let's turn the page to something that is causing confusion, and something I hear all the time, especially when it comes to trying to get back into a fitness, trying to hit your fitness goals, and it comes down with coffee. Now, the viewers that might not know, Adam loves his French press.
I do.
And that thing's the most annoying thing in the world for me.
Pat hates it.
I do. I like to have about 12 cups of coffee, and if I have to keep making that thing, it's about an hour's worth of time.
Pat has like a thermos of coffee, but it's not like the actual, little mini thermos. No, he takes the gallon jug and just downs it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of bad, but that's another topic. This one has to do with the fact that I consistently hear it when you're trying to lose weight, or you're trying to get back into quote-unquote healthy, you need to eliminate the extras when it comes to your coffee.
Right.
Whether that's the splash of the cream or whatever it is. I love my pumpkin spice lattes. That happens to come around the fall. I'll drink it then. But for the most part, we both drink black coffee.
We do.
And I was reading an article from Cosmo, and it cited a study.
Wait.
I know.
Wait.
It's the perks of this job.
Wait, was it for research, or were you just like sitting at home on the couch?
Well, it was Valentine's Day coming up. I had to buy something for my girlfriend, so I read Cosmo.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. It was pure pleasure. But they cited a study which was conducted by the University of Illinois and University of San Diego, which compared the diets of 1,900 coffee and tea drinkers, and found that most people tend to ignore the extra calories from milk and sugar they add in to a cup of coffee. In addition, they also found a correlation with people that add in those extras to having overall a poor diet. Okay, which they did mention that, but it was about half a sentence. But what they were saying though is, or my question is there really something to be concerned about with that splash of milk, or this idea that you have to drink black coffee if you're trying to get into good shape? Because to me it seems like it's really blown out of proportion.
Right.
What would be your thoughts on that?
My initial thought was, do you think the researchers at the University of Illinois purposely teamed up with researchers at the University of San Diego so that they could get trips to San Diego to get out of Champaign?
I'd probably say so.
I mean, if you've ever been to Champaign...
I have not. I've heard a lot about it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Great school. Just wouldn't want to live there. Anyway, I digress. I think here the issue is of people overreacting, as you said, to trying to identify that silver bullet.
Right.
We're always with diet trying to identify this is the one problem. If you change it, everything is better. If you put a splash of cream in your coffee or a packet of sugar, it's not going to do anything. And it's hard to believe that it's going to impact your diet for the rest of the day. I know they talk about a correlation for the mere fact that one of the reasons why people like coffee is because caffeine in coffee is appetite suppressant.
Right.
When you drink coffee, you eat less. When I did intermittent fasting for several years, that's when I started drinking coffee. One, I became convinced that coffee was really healthy for you. It's an extremely powerful antioxidant, has lots of health benefits. A lot of people think coffee is bad, and it's actually not. Now, if you take your coffee in the mindset of Beastie Boys, where you like your sugar with coffee and cream,
Well played.
then it's an issue. Some people will pour half a gallon of creamer in there, or they go to Starbucks and they order, I don't even understand Starbucks lingo, but they get things with like 4 squirts of syrup and 2 packets of sugar, and then half a thing of cream and like a dollop of coffee, and it's dessert, and it's delicious. I mean, I'm not going to argue that, but I would say that that's not even coffee. That's like when you get coffee-flavored ice cream and you're like, I had my morning serving of coffee today.
Right.
It's like, you're eating ice cream. Yeah, but I can taste the mocha.
Yeah.
That's the difference. So it's funny, but it really goes back to that mentality that we share all the time with diet. If your diet, we say, is 80 to 90% on point, 10 to 20%, do whatever you want. It's going to be fine. If your coffee is 80 to 90% coffee, and the rest is something that personalized in the way that you enjoy it more, go and do that. If it's the flip side where it's more dessert, that's where you get into problems because, if you're thinking you're drinking coffee and you're taking in 600 calories, it can definitely lead to weight gain when you added them to everything else that you eat during the day.
Right. Okay. So you did mention something in which coffee is generally used as an appetite suppressant.
Right.
And that is very much, there's a lot of information out there which will cite that. I came across something which Men's Health had another idea when it comes to suppressant. Okay? And they had a study in which they cited Tufts University.
Smart.
Okay?
School.
It is.
I can get in there. No way.
I don't even know where Tufts is, to be honest with you. I'm going to just go to Champaign. But they took 81 people and split them into 2 groups. One ate a diet rich in whole grains with a fiber content around 40 grams a day.
But that's for the entire day of eating.
Correct.
Okay, not just one meal.
Not just one meal, that's in the entire day.
One meal or 2 Quest bars.
Yes. And the other was refined grains with half the amount of fiber. Their translation, when they were kind of describing this, was basically subbing brown rice with white rice at dinner. And you will increase calorie loss. By reducing calories you retain during digestion, and you will literally, quote unquote, poop out the rest. So, my problem, the study found basically that the whole grain group lost about 100 additional calories per day.
Okay.
My question is, will whole grains, or switching to whole grains, or making your diet primarily whole grains, you hear all the time, actually speed up your metabolism? Or is the study drawing a conclusion based on an error we see a lot, causation versus correlation?
Right.
Is it something we both love white rice? Do I need to start switching to white rice? I mean brown rice.
I do love the white rice.
I do too.
So
like, I just
delicious.
taste brown rice.
It's like it's really so good. This is a complicated one. This is where research gets confusing. I do hope that the title of that article was "Poop Your Way Thin."
It was actually, this is another one where it's one of those eye catchers. Burn 100 more calories a day with this super easy dinner swap.
I would even start there. Like, again, 100 calories a day is great, but the total impact that that's going to have on weight loss, if you're removing 700 calories a day, it's there. I'm not saying it's non-existent, but it's not going to move the needle that much. But here's what you need to know, because people do some people are like, you need to have whole grains, and then because this is the diet industry where people are always arguing with one another, others are like, if you have grains, it'll create inflammation, it'll make you fat. You know, there are these books that are about wheat belly, grain brain, all about like, stay away from grains.
Yeah.
They're the devil, which is why people get confused. That's why this show exists. What you need to know is that it's not about the brown versus white rice. You do not need to substitute white rice for brown rice and suddenly you're magically going to lose weight. This is about looking at your diet as a whole. Are you getting enough fiber in your diet? It's one of those overlooked aspects that will help overall gut health. It will help the processing of food. I don't think I would ever try and put someone on a diet where like the goal is to poop out your weight. That's just not practical.
Right.
Are we going to go tell people to go and take a bunch of laxatives? Because I'm pretty sure that borders on not healthy behaviors.
Yeah.
But that's essentially what we're telling people. It's like the message here shouldn't be do this behavior to lose weight. The message should always be here are the things that make up a healthy diet, and there are a million different ways to hit it. Me and you love white rice. Why would I go ahead? I don't like brown rice. I don't think it tastes good. I really don't. And for a while I was on it like, I gotta eat brown rice. And I was like, why am I gonna do something that I genuinely just don't like when there is gonna be no noticeable difference? I make sure that I get enough fiber in my diet, you know, from vegetables, from fruits, from other grains that I enjoy. I wrote a newsletter this morning when I was talking about something we've experimented with, and a lot of our clients is that I get them to try chia seeds. Not because chia seeds is a superfood, but because chia is a really, really easy way, whether it's a smoothie, whether it's a salad dressing, whether it's using it in herbs and spices when you crush something to add fiber to your diet. I make sure I get enough fiber in my diet. I make sure people know how to get fiber in their diet, and then let them choose the outlet, because fiber is important, but brown rice isn't going to magically turn your metabolism into this ultra-fast one, nor should you think, like, I need to find ways to poop out my calories. I'd rather have you eat, I'd rather have you enjoy, and I'd rather have you know the different ways that you can manipulate your diet to be in control, but still eat things that you love. So whether it's brown rice or anything else, you shouldn't feel obligated to eat a certain food. Instead, you should feel empowered to know what you should include in your diet to be healthy, look good, hit your goals, whether they're fat loss or muscle gain, and take care of your body.
You know, it might lead to something, I don't want to open a can of worms now, but something down maybe next episode or down the line to talk about that concept of net carbs and how that plays in. I know that became a big thing when I started eating a ton of Quest, and they started advertising, you know, there's only 3 grams of net carbs in their bar, and it's kind of playing into the fiber issue, which can be very confusing.
Yeah, I think it's very confusing for people, especially when I had the same problem with the net carbs, but on the flip side, it was like filled with sugar alcohols, and they're like, one, these carbs don't count, too, and like, this sugar doesn't count except for the fact that it will rip up my stomach and make me very unhappy. It's true. A lot of people don't realize that their stomach issues oftentimes are caused artificial sweeteners inherently, and this is a whole bag of worms, aren't inherently bad, but they can definitely cause like gastrointestinal distress.
Right.
That's the nice way of putting it.
So maybe there'll be hopefully something in the news pops up next week.
Right. So you
redirect that question.
So you can come out of the gate.
So I can figure out with my unsweetened coffee coming in hot.
Yeah.
Okay. Viewer question.
Yes.
Okay. I love the username here. Fuel 4A Foodie.
Fuel for. Yeah. How'd they write the name? Oh, it's like the letter, the number 4 with the letter A.
4A.
Fuel for a foodie.
Yeah.
Okay, what did
Fueled by
what did the
sweet coffee.
F4F want to know?
So first of all, she loves the episodes.
Awesome.
So thank you.
We have at least one fan.
Yes.
You should follow up and ask her if she's followed you on Twitter and Instagram yet.
Which you definitely can't do.
Patrick did that anyway.
Okay, so her question, and this is something that gets brought up all the time. It was actually when I started to really count calories and macros, that was a question that I asked you.
Right.
But I get asked all the time and trying to explain it, so hopefully you can help the viewers understand. Her question is, should protein be weighed raw or cooked? When someone is trying to hit macros exactly or get really close, this can make a big difference in your protein count.
Okay, so the second part of that question is what's more important than the first part, because as we've talked about, I am more of a fan of weighing, if I'm going to weigh food or if I'm going to measure it in the form in which I eat it, because that for me is more practical. But if you are really keeping track, that would be the cooked version for most things, of macronutrients, all of the ingredient labels are basing their nutrition information on the form that you receive the food.
Right.
So if you're buying rice, it's uncooked, it's raw, which I hope you don't eat because even white rice tastes terrible uncooked. It's just not a good idea. If you're buying meat or chicken or fish, it's raw. Cereal, oatmeal is a big one. Oatmeal, raw. All of these are going to be raw. So if you want to accurately measure this as closely as possible, do it in the raw form. And here's the reason why. Cooking food, as we discussed on a previous episode, isn't going to degrade the quality to a level that you need to worry about it. It might lose a little bit of micronutrient value, but what does happen, and anyone who's ever cooked anything, especially meat, will notice you start with this big slab of beef, and you put it on the grill, and the next thing it's like you put it in the washer,
so
and it just shrinks up, and it's tinier. So what's happening is there's a lot of water that gets held in there, so it shrinks down. So the weight, if you weigh something before and after, is going to change. Sometimes as much as by a half.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go ahead and have a 12-ounce steak, and then after you cook it, it might be in the 6 to 8 ounces area. But the easiest thing to do if you want to be accurate is measure it in its raw form. Measure it when you have it. I understand that for some people, you might forget, or you might not want to handle meat or throw it on a scale, but that's the most accurate way to go about it, and it's going to be great for the foods that can be deceptive. So while, say meats get shrunk down, a lot of times rices, pastas, they expand. So 2 ounces of pasta raw is actually a good amount of pasta, but if you don't measure it and you go and cook without, first 4 or 6 ounces, you go and take it and then you measure it afterwards, and it seems right in that area, but you're getting a lot more pasta than you want. So if you're trying to count calories, if you're following macros, always go with the raw version, and that's going to be the best way to be accurate.
Yeah, I definitely see how it could be, I don't know, my experience, if you're going to, especially on meal prep, and you're trying to cook a large amount of food for the week, it could be a lot more convenient to cook it all, then weigh it once it's cooked.
Right.
But when you do it that way, it will mess up the math.
It just complicates it. Again, if you're weighing your food, if you're measuring it, it's an extra task. No matter how, you're going to weigh it at some point. But if you're actually taking your time, you don't have to do any math. You don't have to overthink it after the fact. Who wants to, if you're going to weigh this food, make a second step where I gotta pull out a calculator and do calculations? You don't. And I always feel that with most things with diet and nutrition, because it's so much more frustrating. We talk about this all the time. I mean, training is easier than nutrition, just from the standpoint of you train once a day for most people.
Right.
Maybe 3-4 times a week, some a few more, some a few less. But eating, that fills up the rest of the day. There's so many times you have to eat, so there's so many ways that you can slip up. You don't want to create an extra layer of complication that makes it more confusing. So take that extra step. If you're going to measure, do it in its raw form, and you'll be good to go.
Well, that wraps up another episode of
Awesome.
That's Healthy, Right?
We hit double digits next episode, I think. Right?
Well, I believe 10 comes after 9.
This episode went a little long. I forgot whenever we got. I'm not keeping track like you. I imagine you go in home at night and you just have a tally board and you just make a mark.
Yeah, I literally have 1 through 33 on the wall.
Are we going to stop at 33?
No, it's just approaching 2
Okay.
33, and then I will create another list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone should just write Pat and just send him the number 33, and he's yours forever.
It's true.
Yeah, loves that number.
Awesome, guys. Well, we have a good week, and we will see you next week with another episode of That's Healthy, Right?
Leave us questions.
No camera, guys. So I'm
No
going to
camera,
turn it
guys.
off.
Where's our drone when we need it?